Someone was trying to come home, and the only one who knew the way back was a dog. The morning fog hangs low over Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, covering the quiet Marine base in a silver blanket of silence. The first light of dawn barely touches the rows of buildings, the flag moving gently in the cold Atlantic breeze, and the familiar sound of boots crossing concrete echoes through the empty corridors. It is a morning like any other, until a white German shepherd walks through the main gate, carrying something no one expects to see. The K9 moves slowly, carefully, as if every step carries a memory too heavy for his forepaws. His name is Ghost. His white coat catches the pale sunlight, almost glowing against the gray morning air. His ears are alert. His eyes are focused. In his mouth is an old Marine jacket, worn and weathered, marked by time and a story nobody understands yet. The guards at the entrance stop talking. A few Marines turn their heads. For a moment, the entire base seems to hold its breath. Ghost does not run. He does not panic. He simply walks forward, carrying the jacket with the same patience of a soldier completing a final mission. Staff Sergeant Marcus Williams steps out from the administration building when he hears the unusual silence. Marcus is the kind of man people notice without him asking for attention. 34 years old, a U.S. Marine with a calm presence and steady eyes, he carries himself with the discipline of someone who has spent years putting others before himself. His dark skin contrasts with the crisp uniform he wears, but it is not his appearance that tells his story. It is the quiet weight behind his eyes. The kind of weight that comes from losing people you once promised to protect. Marcus looks at Ghost and immediately knows something is different. The white German shepherd is not a dog that wanders. Ghost is a trained canine, a partner, a protector. He does not bring objects back without a reason. Marcus slowly approaches. "Ghost," he says softly. The dog looks up. For a second, the noise of the base disappears. The engines, the footsteps, the distant voices all fade into the background. There is only the Marine and the K9 staring at each other, both understanding something that cannot be explained. Ghost lowers the jacket onto the ground and gently pushes it toward Marcus. The sergeant kneels beside it. He does not touch it immediately. Something about the moment feels different, like opening a door that has been closed for years. The jacket carries the scent of rain, earth, and time. It feels like a piece of a forgotten chapter returning to the place where it began. Around him, other Marines gather quietly. No one jokes. No one speaks loudly. They sense that this is not just an old piece of clothing. It is a message. Ghost sits beside the jacket and refuses to move. His white fur trembles slightly in the morning wind, but his eyes remain fixed on Marcus. The dog looks less like an animal waiting for a command and more like a friend waiting for someone to finally understand. Marcus studies the K9. He remembers Ghost from years earlier, back when the dog was younger and faster, when every mission was measured in miles, hours, and trust. Ghost had always been different. Other dogs followed commands. Ghost followed hearts. He had a way of noticing things people missed, a way of standing beside someone who needed him before they even knew they needed help. Marcus reaches toward the jacket, and beneath the worn inner lining, something catches the light. A small metal tag. An old memory, a name waiting to be found. The Marines around him lean closer, their expressions changing from curiosity to disbelief. Because whatever Ghost has carried through the gates this morning was not random. It was not forgotten. It was a piece of someone who was never truly gone. And as the wind moves across the base, carrying the distant sound of morning drills, one truth begins to rise above the silence. Sometimes the strongest messages are not spoken by voices. Sometimes they arrive on four paws. The silence around the old jacket grows heavier as every Marine on the base waits for someone to explain what Ghost already seems to know. Sergeant Marcus Williams remains beside the white German shepherd, his hand resting near the worn fabric but not yet touching it. There is a strange feeling in the air, the kind that comes when a forgotten memory suddenly walks back into the room. Ghost watches him carefully, his amber eyes steady, almost patient. The K9 is not asking for attention. He is asking to be understood. Marcus finally reaches down and lifts the jacket. It is lighter than he expected, but somehow it feels heavier than anything he has carried in years. The material is faded from weather and time. The sleeves are worn. The stitching near the shoulder is damaged from years of use. But inside the lining, hidden away from the world, is a small metal tag attached to a thin chain. Marcus freezes when he sees the name. The morning air seems to disappear. Around him, the Marines exchange quiet looks, unable to believe what they are seeing. Corporal Nathan Brooks, a name that had not been spoken on this base in years. A name connected to memories many Marines still carried silently. Marcus looks back at Ghost, and for a moment, he does not see the dog standing in front of him. He sees a younger K9 running across open training fields beside another Marine. He sees Nathan laughing, his hand resting on Ghost's white fur, calling him more than a partner. He called him family. 6 years earlier, Nathan Brooks had been one of the most respected Marines in his unit. He was known for his calm voice, his patience, and the way he treated every person and every animal around him with the same quiet respect. Ghost had been assigned to him during a difficult period when both of them were learning how to trust again. Nathan never treated Ghost like equipment. He treated him like a teammate, a friend who could understand the things words could not explain. Marcus remembers watching them together during training. While other Marines focused on speed and commands, Nathan focused on connection. He would sit beside Ghost after long days and simply talk to him, not because he expected an answer, but because he believed loyalty was built in moments nobody else noticed. A good partner does not leave you behind, Nathan once told Marcus. At the time, those words sounded simple. Years later, they carried a different meaning. Marcus looks down at the jacket again. His fingers tighten, slightly around the fabric. He remembers the last mission Nathan went on. He remembers the uncertainty afterward, the waiting, the unanswered questions, the official reports that gave families words, but not peace. Some losses never become easier. They only become quieter. Ghost lowers his head beside Marcus, almost as if he understands the weight of the moment. The dog had spent years carrying memories that no human could see. The sound of Nathan's voice, the feeling of his hand, the promise between a Marine and his K9 that time could not erase. One of the younger Marines standing nearby whispers, "How did he even find this?" Nobody answers, because nobody knows. Ghost had not been near the old training area in months. He had not been searching for anything during his morning routine. There was no obvious path, no simple explanation. Only the jacket, only the name, only a dog who somehow knew where to go. Marcus kneels beside Ghost and places a hand gently on the dog's neck. For the first time that morning, the sergeant's expression changes. The walls he has carried for years begin to soften. "You remembered him," Marcus whispers. Ghost closes his eyes for a moment, leaning into the touch. The Marines around them remain silent. They have seen courage in many forms. They have seen it in battlefields, in rescue missions, in moments when people choose to stand for others. But this feels different. This feels like a promise that survived time itself. The investigation begins shortly after. The jacket is carefully examined, the old records are reviewed, and questions that have remained unanswered for years begin to open again. But Marcus already knows one thing. Ghost did not return with an old jacket because he was lost. He returned because he was following a memory. And somewhere beyond the gates of the Marine base, there is a story waiting to be found. A story that one loyal K9 refused to let disappear. The morning at Camp Lejeune moves differently after Ghost brings the forgotten name back into the light. The usual rhythm of the Marine base continues around them. Vehicles pass along the roads. Boots move across the pavement. Voices call out across the training fields. But inside the administration building, the atmosphere feels different. The past has returned, and nobody knows why. Sergeant Marcus Williams sits quietly at a desk, studying the old records connected to Corporal Nathan Brooks. The pages are filled with dates, reports, and official words that describe a person in a way that feels too small. A file can record where someone served. It can record achievements, assignments, and final outcomes. But a file cannot record the sound of someone laughing with AK-9 beside him. It cannot record the trust between two souls who spent years protecting each other. Marcus closes the folder and looks through the window toward the training field. Ghost is sitting outside exactly where he left him. The white German shepherd has not wandered. He has not lost interest. He simply waits. That is what makes everyone uneasy. Ghost is not acting like a dog searching for something. He is acting like a partner waiting for the next command. A younger Marine named Tyler Bennett approaches Marcus carefully. Tyler is 26 years old, still early in his career, but already understands that some moments require silence more than questions. "Sergeant, They are checking the old records from Nathan's last assignment, Tyler says. Marcus nods slowly. Anything? Not yet. Tyler looks toward Ghost through the window. I have never seen anything like this. Marcus follows his gaze. Neither have I. The two men stand there for a moment, watching the K9 beneath the soft morning sunlight. Ghost had entered their lives carrying a mystery, but Marcus begins to realize he also carried something else. Hope. Years earlier, before the world became complicated, Marcus had known Nathan as more than a fellow Marine. Nathan was the kind of person who remembered small details. He remembered birthdays. He remembered the names of people others ignored. He remembered when a young Marine was having a difficult day. And most of all, he remembered Ghost. Marcus still remembers the first time he saw the two of them together. It was during a training exercise on a warm afternoon in North Carolina. Ghost was younger then, his white coat bright under the sun, moving with confidence, but still learning. Nathan sat beside him after the exercise, offering water and a quiet place to rest. Other people saw a trained K9. Nathan saw a friend. He is not just following me, Nathan once told Marcus. He knows me. Marcus did not fully understand those words at the time. Now he does. Because some connections are not built through commands. They are built through patience, through trust, through countless ordinary moments that become unforgettable years later. Later that afternoon, the veterinary and K9 specialists examine Ghost. They confirm what everyone already suspects. The jacket was not found randomly. There are signs that Ghost followed a familiar scent connected to his former partner. The specialists cannot explain exactly how he tracked it after so much time. They simply say that some dogs remember more than humans realize. Marcus listens quietly. He has spent years learning to trust facts, evidence, and preparation. But standing there beside Ghost, he feels something he has not felt in a long time. A small piece of belief returning. That evening, Marcus walks with Ghost along the edge of the base. The sky turns orange above the training grounds. The wind carries the smell of pine trees and distant ocean air. Ghost walks beside him, calm and focused. You were looking for him all this time, weren't you? Marcus says softly. The dog looks up, but does not stop walking. Marcus smiles faintly. It is the first real smile anyone on the base has seen from him in months. Then Ghost suddenly pauses. His ears lift. His body becomes still. He looks beyond the fence line toward the distant tree line. Marcus notices immediately. The old instincts return. Not fear. Not panic. Awareness. Ghost takes one slow step forward, then looks back at Marcus. It is the same look he gave him when he carried the jacket through the gates. A silent request. A silent promise. Marcus follows his gaze into the fading light. Somewhere beyond the trees, something is waiting. And for the first time in 6 years, the name Nathan Brooks is not just a memory. It is a question asking to be answered. The evening settles over Camp Lejeune with a quiet that feels almost deliberate. The training fields are nearly empty now, the last groups of Marines returning from their exercises as the golden light fades behind the tall pine trees surrounding the base. But Sergeant Marcus Williams is not ready to go home. Not yet. He stands near the edge of the fence line, watching Ghost stare into the distance. The white German shepherd remains completely still, his ears raised, his breathing calm. There is no confusion in his posture. No hesitation. Only purpose. Marcus has learned enough about K9s to understand one thing. A trained dog does not waste energy. Every movement has meaning. Every decision comes from instinct, memory, and trust. You are sure about this, aren't you? Marcus whispers. Ghost turns his head slightly, meeting his eyes for a brief moment. Then the dog looks back toward the trees. It is not a command. It is not a request. It is something deeper. A connection between two beings who have both spent years carrying things they could never say out loud. Marcus receives permission from his commanding officer to follow Ghost beyond the usual training area. A small team is assigned to accompany him, including Tyler Bennett and 2 K9 specialists. Nobody knows what they will find, but everyone understands that Ghost has led them this far for a reason. The group moves carefully along an old service path behind the base. The road is covered with fallen pine needles, and the cool evening air carries the scent of damp earth and leaves. Ghost walks ahead, never rushing, never looking lost. He follows something only he can sense. Marcus watches him closely. The sergeant has spent years learning how to read situations before they unfold. But tonight, he is learning something different. He is learning how to follow. After nearly 40 minutes, Ghost stops beside an abandoned training area that has not been used in years. The old structures remain untouched, covered by time and weather. Rusted signs hang quietly. Tall grass moves with the wind. The place feels forgotten. But Ghost does not see it that way. He walks toward a small wooden storage building near the edge of the clearing. Marcus feels something shift inside him. This place feels familiar. Not because he has been here recently. Because Nathan had been here. Years ago, before everything changed. The Marines searched the area carefully. They find small signs that someone had recently passed through. Nothing dramatic. Nothing obvious. Just small reminders that this forgotten place may not have been as empty as everyone believed. Ghost moves toward the back of the building and sits down. He looks at Marcus. The sergeant approaches slowly. Behind the old structure, partially covered by leaves and time, they find another piece of the past. A worn notebook wrapped in a weather-resistant cover. Marcus picks it up carefully. Inside are handwritten notes, training observations, names, dates, thoughts from Nathan Brooks. The handwriting is familiar to those who knew him. Tyler looks over Marcus's shoulder, surprised. He kept records here? Marcus opens another page. There is a short sentence written near the bottom. A promise means nothing if you stop looking. Marcus feels those words settle deeply. Nathan had written them years ago, but somehow they feel meant for this exact moment. Ghost lowers his head beside Marcus. The dog does not react with excitement. He simply waits, as if he has completed another part of his mission. The notebook raises more questions than answers. Why was it hidden here? Why did Ghost bring the jacket now? Why after 6 years? The team begins documenting everything they find, but Marcus feels the answer is not only inside old pages. It is somewhere ahead. As they prepare to return to the base, Ghost suddenly moves again. He walks toward the edge of the clearing and stops near a narrow path leading deeper into the woods. Marcus follows. The path is almost invisible, covered by years of growth. But Ghost knows it. The K9 looks back one more time. The fading sunlight touches his white coat, making him look almost like a quiet piece of winter in the middle of the forest. Marcus takes a slow breath. He does not know where this path leads. He does not know what they will discover. But for the first time in years, he feels certain about something. Nathan Brooks left behind more than memories. He left behind a trail, and Ghost was the only one who never stopped following it. The forest grows quieter with every step they take. The last traces of daylight disappear behind the tall pine trees surrounding Camp Lejeune, leaving only the soft glow of flashlights moving through the darkness. Sergeant Marcus Williams walks behind Ghost, watching the white German shepherd move with a confidence that feels almost impossible. The path is old. The ground is uneven. The signs of time are everywhere. Yet Ghost moves as if he has walked this way many times before. Tyler Bennett follows closely behind Marcus, holding the notebook they discovered at the forgotten training area. He keeps looking down at the pages, then back at Ghost. "Sergeant, I keep thinking about something," Tyler says quietly. Marcus looks back. "What is it?" Tyler pauses for a moment. If Nathan wrote that promise years ago, and Ghost knew where to find this place, how much of this has the dog remembered all this time? Marcus does not answer immediately. He looks at Ghost. The K9 continues forward, his white coat moving gently with each step, his ears listening to sounds no human can hear. "Maybe more than we think," Marcus finally says. The group continues deeper into the woods until Ghost stops near an old dirt road hidden between the trees. The road is barely visible, covered with leaves and surrounded by forgotten signs of the past. There is no map showing this route, no record indicating anyone still uses it. But Ghost stands there with certainty. Marcus approaches the area carefully. Near the edge of the road, they find something that changes everything. A small wooden marker, weathered by years of rain and sunlight. It is not a grave. It is not a warning. It is simply a reminder left behind by someone who wanted to remember. Carved into the wood are 2 words. "Keep searching." Marcus runs his fingers gently over the letters. His chest feels heavy. Nathan had always believed that people mattered, that promises mattered, that no one should be forgotten. And now, years later, that belief is leading them forward through the quiet woods. Ghost lowers his head and sniffs the ground nearby. The K9 moves toward a small area covered by fallen branches. The Marines clear the space carefully and discover a hidden container protected beneath the earth. Inside are old personal belongings. A photograph, a worn notebook, a small piece of fabric from a Marine uniform. Nothing valuable in a traditional sense. But to the people standing there, these items carry something much greater. They carry a story. Marcus picks up the photograph first. The image shows Nathan standing beside Ghost when the K9 was younger. The dog looks almost exactly the same, only smaller. Nathan is smiling, one hand resting on Ghost's back. On the back of the photograph, there is a handwritten message. Every soldier deserves someone who waits for them. Marcus closes his eyes for a moment. He remembers the day Nathan disappeared from their lives. He remembers how many people wondered if they would ever have answers. But now, the answers are arriving slowly. Not through official reports. Not through documents. Through loyalty. Through memory. Through a dog who refused to forget. One of the K9 specialists examines the items and notices something unusual. The notebook contains several references to a location farther away from the base. A place Nathan had visited before his final assignment. A place connected to a promise he made. Marcus looks toward the direction mentioned in the notes. The distance is nearly 20 miles from their current location. It is not close. It is not easy. But Ghost immediately starts walking that way. There is no hesitation. No confusion. The sergeant watches him and feels something inside him change. For years, Marcus believed some questions were meant to remain unanswered. Some losses were simply things people had to carry. But Ghost is showing him something different. Maybe some stories do not end when people disappear. Maybe they wait for someone loyal enough to continue them. The team returns to the base before midnight. But Marcus does not sleep. He sits alone in his quarters, looking at the photograph of Nathan and Ghost. The room is quiet except for the sound of the wind outside the window. Then he hears a soft sound at the door. Ghost is standing there. The white German. Shepard looks at him calmly. Marcus opens the door, and the K9 walks inside, resting beside him like he did years ago with Nathan. Marcus places the photograph on the table between them. "You really believe he is still out there, don't you?" he whispers. Ghost lifts his eyes. No words. No explanation. Only trust. And somewhere beyond the lights of the Marine base, beyond the roads and the forests, there is a forgotten chapter waiting to be opened. The next morning arrives quietly over Camp Lejeune, but for Sergeant Marcus Williams, the night never truly ended. The photograph of Nathan Brooks and Ghost remains on the table beside him, untouched since the moment he placed it there. The room is still. The kind of stillness that makes a person hear every thought they have been trying to avoid. Marcus has spent years learning how to move forward. Marines are trained to adapt, to continue, to carry responsibility even when their hearts feel heavy. But this morning feels different. Because for the first time in a long time, moving forward means looking back. Before sunrise, Marcus meets with his commanding officer and presents everything they discovered. The old notebook, the photograph, the hidden items, the message Nathan left behind. The room remains silent as the details are reviewed. Nobody speaks carelessly. Everyone understands the importance of what they have found. Nathan Brooks was not just a name in an old record. He was a Marine, a friend, someone whose story was never completely finished. The decision is made. Marcus and a small team will follow Ghost's path and investigate the location mentioned in Nathan's notes. Tyler Bennett joins the mission, along with 2 K9 specialists who have worked with Ghost before. The team prepares quietly. There is no rush, no unnecessary noise, just the careful preparation of people following a question that has waited years for an answer. Ghost stands near the vehicle as they gather their equipment. The white German Shepherd watches every movement. When Marcus approaches, Ghost immediately looks up. There is a familiar connection between them now. Not the same connection he shared with Nathan. Something different. Something new. Marcus places his hand on Ghost's shoulder. "You brought us this far," he says softly. "Now show us the rest." The drive takes them nearly 2 hours away from the base. The roads become smaller. The buildings become fewer. The landscape changes from familiar military grounds to quiet stretches of North Carolina countryside. Fields pass by the windows. Tall trees line the roads. The morning sun creates long shadows across the land. Inside the vehicle, nobody talks much. Sometimes silence carries more meaning than conversation. Ghost sits calmly in the back, looking out the window. He does not seem confused. He does not seem afraid. He looks like a dog following a memory. When they arrive near the location from Nathan's notes, Marcus immediately understands why the place mattered. It is peaceful, away from noise, away from attention, a place where someone could disappear from the world and still feel connected to it. The team steps out, and Ghost immediately begins searching. His movements are careful and focused. He follows a trail that exists only in his memory. Tyler watches with amazement. "I still cannot believe he remembers all of this," he says. Marcus looks at Ghost walking ahead. Maybe he never forgot. The group follows the K9 through the quiet woods. After several minutes, Ghost stops near an old cabin hidden among the trees. The structure is small and weathered, but it has clearly been cared for at some point. The windows are covered. The wooden steps are aged. Yet there is something about the place that feels alive. Ghost walks toward the door and sits down. He does not bark. He does not scratch. He simply waits. Marcus approaches slowly. The moment feels familiar. Like the morning Ghost walked through the base, carrying Nathan's jacket. A silent message waiting for someone to understand. The Marines search the surrounding area and find signs that someone has been there recently. A fresh cup near the window. A repaired section of the fence. A small garden growing beside the cabin. Whoever lived here was not completely gone. Marcus feels his heartbeat change. The possibility that once felt impossible now feels close enough to touch. Ghost moves again, walking around the side of the cabin. Behind it, beneath an old wooden bench, he finds something hidden. A small envelope sealed inside a protective cover. Marcus picks it up carefully. His hands pause before opening it. Inside is a letter written in Nathan's handwriting. The first words are enough to make Marcus stop breathing for a moment. "If you are reading this, then Ghost found his way back." The Marines stand quietly around him. The wind moves through the trees. The world feels smaller for a moment. Because after 6 years of questions, they are no longer searching for a memory. They are following a message left by someone who believed loyalty could cross any distance. Marcus looks at Ghost. The K9 is sitting beside him, calm and patient. He does not know the words written on the paper. He does not need to. He already knew the mission. And now, the truth is waiting inside that letter. The letter rests in Sergeant Marcus Williams' hands as the quiet cabin stands beneath the fading afternoon sky. Nobody moves for several seconds. The only sound is the gentle movement of leaves above them and the steady breathing of Ghost sitting faithfully beside Marcus. The white German shepherd watches the letter as if he already knows every word written inside. Marcus slowly unfolds the paper. The handwriting is unmistakable. Nathan Brooks. The same careful writing Marcus remembered from years ago. The same steady hand that once filled mission notes, training records, and small reminders left for people who mattered. But this letter feels different. It feels personal. It feels like a voice returning from a place everyone thought was silent. "Marcus," the letter begins. The sergeant stops for a moment. He looks down at Ghost, then back at the page. "If you are reading this, then Ghost found his way back. I knew he would. Some bonds are stronger than distance, stronger than time. If anyone could carry a message home, it would be him." Marcus takes a slow breath. Tyler stands nearby, watching quietly. Even though the letter is not addressed to him, he feels the weight of every word. This is not just a message from one Marine to another. It is a reminder of a promise that survived years of uncertainty. The letter explains that Nathan had discovered something important before he disappeared from official records. He had found a place where he could recover, reflect, and rebuild his life away from the noise of the world. He wrote about Ghost often, about how the K9 always seemed to understand when he needed patience instead of commands, about how the dog stayed close during difficult days, never asking for anything except trust. Marcus continues reading. "I know people will think I am gone. I know some stories end before anyone gets the chance to say goodbye. But please remember this. A person is not defined by how they leave this world. They are defined by the love they leave behind." The words settle over the group. For years, Marcus had carried the memory of Nathan as a question. Now, slowly, that question is becoming something else. Hope. Ghost stands and walks toward the cabin door. The K9 looks back at Marcus, waiting. The sergeant understands immediately. There is more. The letter was not the end of the journey. It was another step. Inside the cabin, the Marines discover a space that feels untouched by time. There are old photographs on a small wooden table. Books arranged neatly on a shelf. A few personal items carefully placed as if someone expected to return. There is no feeling of abandonment, only waiting. Marcus notices a framed photograph near the window. It shows Nathan sitting outside the cabin with Ghost beside him. The dog looks younger, but the expression in his eyes is the same. Loyal, calm, certain. On the back of the frame, Nathan wrote a simple message. Home is wherever someone remembers you. Marcus runs his fingers across the words. He has spent years believing that losing someone meant losing everything connected to them. But standing in that cabin, he realizes memories do not disappear. They wait for someone to find them. Tyler opens another notebook found on the table. Inside are pages filled with thoughts about life after service, about healing, and about finding peace after carrying responsibility for too long. Nathan had written about the difficulty of leaving the battlefield behind, about how many soldiers return home physically present but emotionally still searching for a place to belong. Marcus understands those words more than he wants to admit. He looks at Ghost. The K9 had not only been searching for Nathan. Maybe Ghost had been searching for everyone who needed to remember him. As the sun begins to set, the team hears a faint sound from behind the cabin. Ghost immediately turns. His ears rise. The same focused expression returns. Marcus follows him around the side of the building. There, near a small wooden path leading away from the cabin, they discover something unexpected. Fresh footprints. Someone had been here recently. Someone who knew this place. Someone who had left signs behind. Marcus looks at the path disappearing into the trees. The mystery that brought them here is no longer about what happened 6 years ago. It is about what is happening now. Ghost steps forward, following the trail. Marcus looks at the letter one more time before placing it safely in his pocket. For years, he thought Nathan Brooks was a chapter that had already ended. But maybe some stories are not finished when the world stops reading them. Maybe they continue quietly, waiting for the right person or the right dog to bring them home. The forest path stretches quietly beneath the fading evening sky as Sergeant Marcus Williams follows Ghost into the unknown. The air is cooler now, carrying the scent of pine and fresh earth. Every step feels like moving deeper into a story that was never supposed to be found. Behind him, Tyler Bennett and the rest of the team follow carefully, carrying the old letter and the memories they have uncovered. Nobody speaks much. They have all learned that some moments deserve silence. Ghost moves ahead with purpose. The white German shepherd does not search like an animal looking for something unfamiliar. He moves like a partner returning to a place he has known all along. Marcus watches him closely, feeling the strange connection between the past and the present. For years, Nathan Brooks was a name attached to uncertainty. Now, that name feels alive again. The trail leads them away from the cabin and toward a small clearing hidden beyond the trees. The area is peaceful, almost untouched. Wildflowers grow along the edge of the path. Sunlight slips through the branches above, painting the ground with soft golden patterns. Ghost stops near an old wooden fence that surrounds a small piece of land. Marcus approaches slowly. There is something about this place that feels different. Not forgotten. Protected. Near the fence, they find a small mailbox attached to a wooden post. It looks old, but it is carefully maintained. Marcus opens it gently and finds several envelopes inside. All of them have the same handwriting. Nathan's handwriting. Tyler looks surprised. He was still receiving mail here? Marcus shakes his head. No, someone was still sending it. The discovery changes everything. Nathan had not simply disappeared into the past. Someone knew he was here. Someone had been connected to this place. Marcus looks through the letters carefully. Most are simple. Friendly messages. Updates from people who cared about him. Small reminders that he was not forgotten. But one envelope catches his attention. It has no address. Only one word written on the front. Ghost. Marcus feels his heart stop for a moment. He opens it slowly. Inside is a short note. I knew you would come when the time was right. Take care of him. He carried me when I could not carry myself. Now he will lead you to where I am. Marcus reads the words twice. The meaning is clear. Nathan expected this day to come. He expected Ghost to return. The K9 sits beside Marcus as if waiting for the next step. The sergeant kneels and places a hand on Ghost's shoulder. You knew all along, he whispers. The dog closes his eyes briefly. The moment is quiet, but it carries more emotion than words could hold. The team begins searching the area around the property. They find small signs that someone has been nearby recently. A fresh path cleared through the grass. A repaired section of the fence. A stack of firewood arranged neatly beside the cabin. Whoever had cared for this place had done so with patience. This was not a place left behind. It was a place waiting. As the last light disappears, the team decides to stay nearby. Until morning, Marcus sits outside the cabin with Ghost beside him. The night sky above North Carolina is filled with stars. The sounds of the forests around them. Crickets, wind moving through trees. The quiet rhythm of a world that continues even when people are searching for answers. Marcus looks at the dog resting beside him. "You know, I used to think loyalty was about following orders," he says softly. "But maybe it is about remembering what matters." Ghost lifts his head slightly, listening. Marcus thinks about Nathan, about the years lost, about the people who spend their lives carrying unfinished stories. He realizes something important. Nathan had not left behind a mystery. He had left behind a message that said people are worth finding. The next morning arrives with a thin layer of mist covering the ground. Ghost wakes before everyone else. He walks toward the edge of the property and stops. This time, Marcus does not question him. He simply follows. The trail leads to a small hill overlooking the land. At the top, they find a simple wooden bench facing the sunrise. On the bench sits another envelope. This one is newer. The paper is clean. The handwriting is familiar. Marcus picks it up, and his hands begin to shake slightly. Because this time, the letter is not from the past. It is recent. Someone had been here. Someone had left it knowing Ghost would bring them. Marcus looks toward the horizon. The search that started with an old jacket has become something much bigger. And now, standing beside the loyal K9 who never gave up, he knows they are closer than ever to finding the truth. The morning sun rises slowly over the quiet land, painting the fields around the old cabin with soft shades of gold. For the first time in years, Sergeant Marcus Williams feels like he is standing at the beginning of something instead of the end. The letter in his hands feels almost impossible. The handwriting is Nathan Brooks. The message is recent. The meaning is clear. Someone wanted Ghost to find them. Someone believed the loyal K9 would bring the right people at the right time. Marcus carefully opens the envelope while the others gather nearby. The paper inside contains only a few lines. "Marcus, if you are reading this, then Ghost has done what he was always meant to do. He found his way back. I need you to trust him one more time. Follow where he leads. He remembers what I cannot explain." Marcus reads the words slowly. The forest around them becomes completely silent. Tyler Bennett looks at him with disbelief. "Sergeant, are you thinking what I am thinking?" Marcus looks toward Ghost. The white German shepherd is already standing near the trail, waiting. "Yes," Marcus says quietly. "We keep following." The team packs their equipment and begins moving again. This time, nobody questions Ghost. The doubt that followed them from the beginning has disappeared. They are no longer chasing an impossible story. They are walking beside a promise. Ghost leads them several miles through the countryside, away from the cabin and deeper into an area where the roads become smaller and the world feels untouched by time. The K9 moves steadily, never rushing. Every few minutes, he looks back to make sure Marcus is still there. That small action does something to the sergeant. It reminds him of Nathan. The same patience, the same quiet understanding. Ghost is not just leading them somewhere. He is making sure nobody gets left behind. After nearly an hour, they reach a small farmhouse surrounded by tall grass and old trees. It is not abandoned. Smoke rises gently from a chimney. A garden grows beside the house. There are signs of a peaceful life. Marcus stops at the edge of the property, unsure of what to expect. Ghost walks forward. The door opens before they reach it. Standing there is a man older than Marcus remembers. His hair has more gray. His face carries the passage of time. But the eyes are the same. Calm. Familiar. Alive. For a moment, nobody moves. The world feels suspended between yesterday and today. Marcus does not say the name first. He does not need to. The man already knows. "Ghost," he whispers. The white German shepherd immediately walks forward. The years disappear in a single moment. The K9 presses close, and the man places his hands gently on Ghost's fur. His eyes close as if he is remembering every day they spent together. No words are enough for that reunion. Some connections are too deep to explain. Marcus stands quietly, watching the scene unfold. He has imagined many possible endings over the years. None of them looked like this. Nathan Brooks was alive. The Marine who everyone thought had become only a memory was standing in front of them. After a few moments, Nathan looks toward Marcus. "I knew he would find someone who understood," he says softly. Marcus takes a step closer. There are questions, many questions, but the first thing he feels is relief. "Why did you disappear?" Marcus asks. Nathan looks down at Ghost before answering. I did not want people searching for a story that was already changing. I needed time to heal. I needed time to understand what came next. He explains that after leaving active service, he created a quiet life away from attention. He stayed connected with a few trusted people, but never returned publicly. The letter was written because he knew one day Ghost might need to come home. He knew the dog carried a memory stronger than any document. Marcus listens carefully. He understands now. This was never about finding someone who was lost. It was about finding someone who was waiting. Nathan looks at Ghost and smiles. He always believed people came back. The words stay with Marcus. Because Ghost did not follow a scent. He followed love. He followed trust. He followed a bond that time could not erase. As the sun moves higher above the farmhouse, the Marines stand together with the K-9 who brought them there. The journey that began with questions has finally reached an answer. But Marcus knows this moment is not only about Nathan returning. It is about every promise that survives when nobody is watching. And beside him, Ghost rests peacefully, knowing his mission was complete.